All right. So we have with us tonight, welcome to the Rockstar Presenters team call. It is October 19th of 2017, and I could not be more excited to have Darin, Olien, the creator of Shakeology, with us tonight. So I know that everybody is kind of chomping at the bit, and I just wanted to kind of connect with Darin and let him know my experience with Shakeology. First of all, Darin, I don't know if you knew this, but we have something in common. I grew up in southeastern Minnesota. And
Hey,
so Darin's also are you from Waseca? Is that right?
yep.
Yeah. So lots of Minnesota folks actually on this call tonight with you because got a big team in Minnesota. So, hey, us northern folk have to stick together. Yeah, see, lots of Minnesota. Love it. And I have been a coach for 8 years. And so Shakeology was maybe about 6 months old, I think, or so. And it was back in the day when it was just chocolate and greenberry. And my sponsor, I actually became a coach without ever tasting Shakeology and never having done a single one of our fitness programs. I knew nothing about Beachbody. I just blindly said, sure, I'll be a coach. I have no idea what that is. And she handed me one packet of greenberry and one packet of chocolate. And so I threw them in my car, and I was a fitness instructor. And so one day I was in a bind. I was on my way to teach a fitness class. I had like a water bottle, and I was like, oh, I'll try this greenberry. That sounds delicious. Never had it before, had no shaker cup, nothing like that. Like just dumped it in with water, shook it up and drank it. And I was like, kind of tastes like what I thought a green shake would taste like, believe it or not. It was about what I was expecting. And then I thought, well, surely the chocolate's probably less green smoothie-ish. And so, I immediately fell in love and actually have kind of had a love affair with each formula of Shakeology as they've come out. So I just, I know that everybody on here has a personal story with Shakeology and what it's done for them. And so just on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you for doing what you've done for us and giving us such an amazing tool to make such a huge impact on the nutrition of so many families, family of 6 here, and we're all drinking either Shakeology or Daily Sunshine. So I actually kind of wanted to start just with something fun. I love the idea. I don't even know if it's still one of our videos, but you had the Shakeology ingredient hunter video. And I thought, so many folks, especially on my team, we all love to travel. We love that concept of you really going to the source and really hunting down those ingredients. So what kind of personal story could you tell us that maybe it was like one of your funniest or fondest memories of kind of being out in the field and finding a certain Shakeology ingredient?
Well, I definitely have some memories. That is for sure. Some of which didn't go so well. Um, there's been some people that come along. There's been other film guys that have hurt themselves. There's been a lot of gnarly things. There's one instant. Actually, it wasn't a Shakeology ingredient, but I'll just say it. I was in Cambodia, and I was just really, it was one of those times I was just really exploring to see what they had. And I got invited there by the government. And so I got connected up with this government official, and every time they were having some flooding in Thailand and Cambodia at the time. And so our route had to change, and he had, state of emergencies he had to always go to. So he kept canceling our meeting. And so eventually he said, hey, go to my land where I have, I think it was mangosteen and some herbs and some very interesting trees that had a particular medicinal quality of its bark. And so I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. So let's go. Let's see what at least he has. And so we took off, and it was about a day's car ride. And all of a sudden we got to this kind of dilapidated gate that looked like a carnival that no one was going to, and there was no people around, there was no village, and there was no city, and I was like so confused. And so we go into this place, and there was a manager there, and the guy apparently started saving animals that were either guaranteed kills or they were in circuses. So we were walking in between these fields with, a camel, a giraffe, lions and tigers, and it was just the strangest thing. And then there was this one moment where I saw an orangutan, and it was a male and female orangutan. And so here we are looking at these herbs, and I glance over and I see this orangutan. I'm like, oh wow, I've only saw an orangutan in the wild. I've never seen one close up. So I went up, and then I kind of acted like a tourist, right? But there was no tourism. It was just me and my buddy that were with me. And I said, oh wow, I want to take a picture. And I put up my cell phone, and the big male had swung over, and there was a fence, and then about 3 feet between the fence and the cage. And I stuck my phone up, and in about a half a second, he stuck his hand out and slapped my phone away. And the phone fell down in between the fence and the cage. And I remembered in that moment, or at least dawned on me in that half a second, that, oh, he's actually going to steal my cell phone. And so I went to grab the phone, and he grabbed it before me, and I put my hand on his hand, and he pulled it in the cage, and then he had my phone, and he started chewing on my phone. And so then I got a hold of the farmer agriculture manager guy, such a strange thing, and he got one of his helpers, and one of the guys jumped in there and kind of started wrestling and trying to distract him. And anyway, they got my phone, they threw it out, and I had a big wad of Cambodian money, and I just gave these guys all I had in my pocket, and I got my phone back. So
not entirely the experience you think you were going to have when you go to Cambodia.
No, it was not what I was expecting. So there's a lot of these things, and most of the trips are things that you're not planning for. Most of these trips are herbs and botanicals and things that I actually wasn't setting out to see and find. But I end up coming back with a list of things that I investigate, and maybe we can use and maybe not, but at least it's in my memory bank. And so these trips are always, a degree of, I'm there for a reason. But also there's a degree of spontaneity that just happens all the time.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an adventure. That's funny. This kind of brings me to actually the next question I wanted to ask. And I know that you can't get too specific, but obviously you do kind of have this almost a Rolodex. I don't know if the younger folks on the call remember what a Rolodex is, but you probably have a Rolodex of ingredients in your mind that you'd love to play with. Is there an ingredient that you would absolutely love to see added to a Shakeology formulation at some point that we, just isn't well known yet, or just hasn't been, widely used, or just anything that you're just dying to throw in there?
It's interesting because not all botanicals or herbs can be in a proper state that would work in a dried, controlled powder form. So some of it they have to use traditionally as tinctures or in extractions, or they're just not stable. So the cool thing with Shakeology formulas, all of these botanicals are balanced together, making it exponentially greater when you're consuming the sum total of all of those. So it does cut down on the list of things that are possible. I mean, I think right now our state is just improving on the expansion of what we have, and improving on all of those vertical integrations. But I will say, kind of not necessarily move it. The one I tried to get in the formula that didn't make it was when we were looking at the cafe latte. Because I remembered in the Yucatan, there's a very special nut called the Maya nut. And the Maya nut is very similar. It's kind of like Sasha Inchi has its very special qualities and proteins and essential fatty acids. Well, the Maya nut is revered by the Mayans as much as the Aztecs revered Sasha Inchi. So for the cafe latte, I remember that when you properly, because they traditionally roasted the Maya nut to prepare it so that you could ingest it, I remember that it had this very strong coffee-like flavor with all of these beneficial compounds. And I was already connected to a cooperative, mainly women, that was helping to preserve this incredible tree. So it was a labor of love. It was a push. We had many conversations with Beachbody and the team, and we just couldn't get it to work because they were too far away from getting up to the quality standards that we would require. So we had to turn our focus in the formulation to other aspects of cafe latte. But that was and I still actually use it myself to this day. I use Maya nut. So anyway, that's a very special, and if you want to just look up Maya nut in the Yucatan and some of the Central America, it's a really incredible plant and nut.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's so cool. And I don't know, I swear you're just kind of reading my mind here, but that kind of brings me actually to the next question I wanted to ask, which is there any ingredient in Shakeology that seems like it's kind of the hardest to keep clean or find in its natural state or source? Like, is there just kind of a headache ingredient for you when it comes to Shakeology?
Yeah, and it's more than me at this point. It's Isabel. It's our quality assurance teams. It's our research and development. It's and our operations. Our operations team sees if the ingredient can scale to our demand and our projections. The quality assurance teams goes and audits facilities and tests for pathogens and tests for unwanted materials. And our research and development largely do a lot of testing to make sure that the active compounds are supposed to be there. And so every so often there'll be an ingredient that just is, a really, unrelenting teenager within the formula. It's just, we're just having a hard time. And I think it would be better to say that we have done a lot of work to make sure those are controlled pretty well. We're always looking to maybe, adjust the formula to optimize even stronger ingredients. And that's an ongoing. The cool thing is Shakeology and Carl has allowed Isabel and I and the whole team to be able to continue as a moving kind of formulation creativity that we constantly get to innovate, right? Which is why we have new ingredients, which is why we got one of my favorites, moringa and chaga and matcha and all these incredible botanicals. So I will say this, that some of the hard ones came by way that I wasn't expecting, and we got rid of them because of safety standards, because of sometimes it's weird in the industry that when we call out something, no one else did, so that these individuals who are selling these commodities really then just go, nah, I'm already selling it. I'd rather not, I'd rather not do this particular step that you're only asking for, when in fact we're just asking for a higher level standard.
Wow.
And some of those are, we used to have, as you know, the wheatgrass, barley grass, oat grass, the grass juice powders, which I was really happy that they were in the formula. And when we continued to ramp up the quality, when the formula kept selling, their testing kept coming back not adequate. So we'd have to reject lots. So these guys just didn't want to play in that way. And so we found out that many of the grass juice powders in the market, I don't know where they're at now because this was a couple years ago, but many of the grass juice powders in the market just simply is nothing I would ingest, knowing what I know about that thing. So we, as a consensus, said they won't be able to scale. The quality standards is not high enough for us, so therefore they're out of here. And we're going to increase the certain aspects of green powders to increase those powders to get the types of vitamins and minerals and chlorophyll and things like that we would be losing from the grass juice powders. Hey, Chaga, my dog's freaking out. Chaga, by the way. So
I love it.
Yeah, my one of my favorite medicinal mushrooms is chaga mushroom, so I named my dog Chaga. So
love that.
But anyway, that's an example of what we do when we're faced with something that's not hitting our standard, and we will increase the formula with other herbs and botanicals to make up for the change that we had to make with other ones. And that's one of the cool things that we really, get a lot of pride in, that we don't let the formula go down. We adjust it and always make sure that it's hitting its marks.
I don't know. I just feel like I see a lot of people writing notes and stuff, but like, I just want to take every bag of Shakeology in my house and like run up and down the streets and like beat everybody over the head with it. Like, why aren't you understanding this? Like, listening to you like explain it. I think like not just our coaches need to hear you speak on this, more. And oh my goodness, does the general public need it more. I just get excited listening to you. So you kind of touched on this too, actually, as Shakeology is almost kind of like a living, breathing thing that is in constant motion. Is there, I love how early on when we were learning about Shakeology from you, it wasn't that it was just another flavor, it was another formulation. And each formula is a little bit different. Moving forward, I know that you're always working on stuff and I know that you can't give details, but if you had one, next goal for the next formula of Shakeology, is there anything that you're just super excited about or just really, I guess, studying or looking towards, or anything new that you're just thrilled about?
Well, yeah, I'm always, I and the team are always looking into new things. I think some ongoing attention that we've been doing for the last few years is plant proteins. That's been in the industry. There's been a lot of innovations within that. Some very cool algae powders and concentration of different types of algae, freshwater algae. There's been a lot of cool innovations in that. And then all other kinds of everything from pumpkin proteins to all of these things where some of it, again, the idea is one thing, but actually doing it safely and effectively and at scale is very important. And that's where some of the, when there's competition and people kind of come at us, and they're using certain ingredients. Well, oftentimes those ingredients haven't been flushed out, and they haven't had the money and the resources to put the right attention on them. And therefore, it's easy for some smaller companies to go, hey, see, we have this ingredient, we have that ingredient. And oftentimes it's similar to the wheatgrass, barley grass, and all of those things that, well, we have found out something that we obviously are not going to run around and tell other companies that their formulas are crap. But we are holding a golden standard here. And, I know I'm a little off topic, but we are holding something that, and this is important to say, because our quality assurance standard is so high that we reject most of the companies and processors in countries of origin, and we have to step in and help improve and increase their quality standards. So if you imagine that, so if we're failing most of those processors, and we're putting time and attention and money to improving them, can you imagine what's going on in the industry if most people have a hands-off approach? They think that just because their Camus showed up and it's on their label, that they know what they have. And it's scary that most people don't understand. And honestly, that's why I started traveling to begin with. I started traveling because I want to see it, I want to meet the people, and I want to understand how they use it, how they process it to the best of my ability, because then I'll study about it. Then I'll study and do all that thing. But I wanted to fully be transparent with it, with all the ingredients, because it was my moral obligation. So that's an important thing that Beachbody takes very seriously with our research and development and all of those things. So to answer your kind of question in terms of the innovations, the improvements, it's really this is the unsexy answer, but this is really the continuous support of so many of these ingredients around the globe, to make sure that those processors, those collectors, those farmers, all are doing it in the best way possible. And that, to me, is the heartbeat of the formulation. Aside from, of course, checking on quality to make sure that our botanicals, aside from, you can compare labels, that our botanicals are tested for the active compounds that we have determined are important to the formula, and therefore we're putting that standard into it. And that does not happen much at all in the industry. And it's something that's very, very important. So we're always looking at improving the alchemy of the formula. We're always interested in the next ingredient. But really now, it's really improving upon and optimizing the formula. Sometimes we've grown out of ingredients. We're just like, well, we're really getting a lot of essential fatty acids from these things, or proteins from these. So we're like, let's eliminate that ingredient because it's not contributing in the way that we want. So we'll increase some others. So right now, it's really optimizing and making sure that formula is just dialed in and improved upon every step of the way.
It's so cool. It's so cool to know that that is something that we're putting into our bodies every single day. When you think about the other things that might just slip in every once in a while, it's like, wow, it's amazing what we are getting in that one serving. So, I mean, I know that, they're your babies and you really can't play favorites, but how are you, I think it's probably safe to assume you're drinking Shakeology every day. How are you drinking your Shakeology? And, do you have a favorite formula or flavor?
Yeah. Well, I was so kind of OCD about when I drank it for years and years and years. Now it's interesting because I always play with my eating timings with food and things. Now it's interesting because sometimes I'll take it like, I'll have like tinctures and tonics in the morning, then I'll work out, and then I maybe won't eat until like 11 o'clock. And after workout, I really enjoy drinking Shakeology. But also when it's in the summer, that midday kind of area where I want something light. I want something. I tell you what, I was a vegan chocolate for sure for probably the first half of since the birth of Shakeology. But I'm telling you, the tropical vegan is my favorite, almost hands down. I just a frozen, 5 ounces of frozen blueberries and a little bit of water to make it really thick, and vegan Shakeology with a greens boost is kind of my favorite. I've gone so complicated to now very simple, and I really like it. And that's kind of where I'm sitting.
I love that.
By the way, sometimes I'll have dinner and I'll put some ice cubes and very little water, and I'll hit that blender until it's super thick and like an ice cream with vegan Shakeology in there. And I'll literally put a few nuts on top, and I'm like eating ice cream, and it's just the best. So it's get this fruity flavor, and sometimes I'll just do that for dinner. Nice.
I love that. My brain like went on overload. I'm like in my Shakeology happy place. I feel like I need to have another one tonight before I go to bed. So I know that, again, you're speaking to coaches right now, and I know, they're much like me. I'm just like totally geeking out over everything you're saying. I'm like, yes. Why doesn't everybody understand? Like you're truly preaching to the choir. So I have kind of a tougher question for you. When we're talking to, our friends, our family, our fitness students, just the average American who just isn't fitness nutrition just isn't their passion. It's just something that they, are doing because they know that they have to, etc. And they just don't have like the background or the education that we do. How, this is going to be a really hard question for you because you're so smart. How would you explain to someone who knows nothing at all about nutrition why they need Shakeology?
Well, I think, yes, it is a hard question, because the reason why it's hard is because it's an individual by individual situation. Because if you put anyone in front of me, because I've had it obviously for a decade, where people ask me, hey, what do you do? Well, I helped develop this thing, Shakeology. And I'm like, oh, I just thought it was a cute marketing company. And then I actually get to tell them. Then I've never not converted anybody, but I've never tried to sell it once, ever. Right. I've never tried to sell anything. So for me and for the coach, I would say, ask people questions. Are you sleeping well? Are you do you have energy? Are you passionate? Are you exercising? Are you or what's happening? Are you feeling like you were when you were 20? How is your mood? If you're in that situation where you can ask someone a question, they will inevitably tell you something like, this is a great one, actually. Obviously, energy, sleep, weight, and stress. Stress is such an easy way, because stress is going to add into, they all touch each other. So if I'm overweight, I'm stressed because I'm not at my ideal. If I'm stressed, I gain weight because I'm stressed, and the cortisol and all those things. Well, these ways are easy entries, and you don't have to know all the nutrition, but you should know the buckets of Shakeology that relate at least to a word of your explanation. So for example, if someone said, yeah, I'm really stressed out and I gained a bunch of weight and I'm just not feeling that great. And I said, wow, that's tough. I'm sorry to hear that. I've been drinking this thing called Shakeology, and, throw it on me. The formulators put this thing together to they added in all these adaptogens, and these adaptogens, things like Shazandra. I mean, I couldn't even pronounce that, right? You say that to them, and ashwagandha. And what are the adaptogens have been used for thousands of years, and they help with stress, right? So that's easy. And when they help with stress, your cortisol goes down and it's easier to lose weight. And this formula has some of the greatest botanicals in the world. They've gone all over the globe to bring these back, some of which have been used for thousands of years. And they're giving you what? They're giving you micronutrients, because these nutritionists tell me that if your cells are happy, you will be happy, right? So when you're giving your body the micronutrient bath that it needs, then you're allowing it to build from the inside out. And that's really the whole name of the game. You can also say things like, did you know that in the early 1900s, that Congress in the United States, our agricultural community, knew that our food was lacking minerals, lacking nutrients? We knew this. And so our food quality has sped up. We have volumes of food. We have large volumes of food that are nutritionally starved. If you are starved of nutrients, you won't operate well. So the creators of this Shakeology gathered the greatest botanicals in the world to give you those nutrients to help your body get stronger again. And it's really, and you need to drink it every day, because it's I use the analogy, and you can share this with people, in that, the idea of eat an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, that's a nice little phrase that basically says this whole food, this apple, which has 300 plus compounds that help support your body, that by eating that every day helps your body and keeps away a doctor. So if that's the case, this formula called Shakeology has 60 plus ingredients that if you can, and those things are some of the greatest in the world, and if you consume them every day, added up over time, guess what might happen? That you probably will help keep the doctor away if you're taking in not just an apple a day, but you're taking in these incredible adaptogens, prebiotics, probiotics, and botanicals from around the world. Those are some of the things that I would say. And it's really, again, it's about, of course, you have taglines like it's proven and tested quality ingredients, clinically shown to help lose weight and reduce cravings. Those are all the clinical stuff. So it's really that, but it really starts that engine by asking a question. And I tell you what, 99% of the people are concerned about their weight and are wrestling with it. And they don't have to wrestle with it. Eat good food, sleep well, drink good water, and get your superfoods in. It's not difficult, and move your body, right? But because of stress that's beating the hell out of all of us, because we're in a weird world where we're raining down 80,000 new but untested chemicals from our atmosphere, that's stressing our bodies out, that's getting on our food, that's stressing our bodies more by ingesting them, by our water being completely neutered in the way that water was supposed to be life-giving, but now it's all kinds of fluorides and pesticides and drugs are actually showing up in our waterways. So can you imagine, how is it that we can even handle this modernly inconvenient life? This part of it, we have an incredible, I mean, we're sitting here and we have an incredible ability to eat when we want and gather, go to the store, and we're safe in our homes and all these things. But at the same time, there's fatal conveniences to all of that too. So we're buying and eating food that's nutrient starved. We're drinking water that's toxic if you're not filtering it. And we're dealing with stress from all these industrialized conveniences that are hurting us. So our demand for nutrients has gone up because of our modern day stressors. Our food nutrients have gone down. So that's a perfect storm. If you're not getting the nutrients from your food in the way that it was supposed to, and you're stressed more than you ever have, your demand for nutrients has gone up 2, 3, 4, 5-fold. So Shakeology, aside from marketing, Isabel and I set out to to fill in the gaps, to provide missing links for this modern day nutrient poor society, so that we can give you these great botanicals and feed your body, feed your cells, so that you can have a chance to wake that up again. And then upon that, hopefully you then grab more healthy things and continue, which is why Beachbody is so rad. It's got all of these pillars where it's right there. Because listen, if you're not bloody healthy, that's it, man. It's hard to dream. It's hard to live a kind of life that you really want when you're completely neutered by the ability that your body is able to even respond. If I don't have energy, if I don't feel great, and if I'm lugging around extra weight, there's no part of me that's living the kind of life that will match the kind of dreams that I truly have. So that's behind why we created Shakeology. Carl does the marketing stuff. He just got two incredibly passionate and educated people together that viewed this thing the same way. So Isabel and I went to work, and we still work to keep this thing as powerful as possible.
It's amazing. I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight, because now I feel like I've got a lot of work to do educating everybody on everything I've learned tonight. Wow. I think I'll just, end with just something really quick. If there was one thing, I mean, there was a million things, but if there was one thing you really wanted coaches to know, that are the coaches, I guess, that are listening, or we have probably some raving Shakeology fans on as well, who maybe aren't coaches. Like, if there was just one thing that you wanted them to know, what would it be?
About Shakeology, about life.
Let's go with life. Let's go with life. I'll take it. You offered. I'm taking it.
I have to say, self-awareness. Self-awareness is the key to the castle. If you're not self-aware, then you will be limited by your subconscious behavior that's playing out without you being aware of it. And that is a torturous life. So take responsibility for yourself and your life, 100% of everything that's going on. Take responsibility, and not that you're creating all of it, but when it happens, because life is tough sometimes, and life is beautiful sometimes. And be aware of where you're participating in your life, because that to me is why one of the reasons I created Shakeology, as weird as that sounds. I wanted for me, and I say that I write about it in my book, that the reason I say that is because I created Shakeology for a much bigger goal. And that is to get you guys as much nutrients as you can so that you can live a life that kicks ass, period. It's not about hyper focusing on nutrition or exercise, or it's like, get that set up in your habits and be a habit, be a leader in your life and just keep going. But it's not about getting caught in the exercise, getting caught in the nutrition and in that stuff. It's about setting yourself free with it all. That's why I did it. It's one of the greatest goals I have, is to find the greatest botanicals in the world so that you guys can kick ass and really live the super life that you really want. That's it. So,
yeah, no, that's perfect. I'm just, wow. Darin, I cannot thank you enough for taking time to be with us tonight. I know that my mind is kind of reeling, and, I wish we had another 2 hours with you, but I want to respect your evening. I'm sure Chaga wants some attention, but thank you so much for your hard work and awareness that goes into what you and Isabel and Carl work on every day. And, thank you for helping me keep my family of 6 healthy and happy and hopefully a little more self-aware. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time with Isabel. Bye, guys. Thank you, Darin.
cheers.